The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and/or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
The life of comic fandom can be lonely, but just around the corner can be found a place that lets you know you're not the only nerdy true believer who's around. The comic book store, 'cause that's where the books live, but it's also much more. It's the heart of the art form that we all adore. Your friendly neighborhood comic book store. Out among the stacks of new releases, browsing with your future new best friends, you're gonna find a book you'll love to pieces. The girl behind the counter recommends dollar books and shelves of graphic novels. Titles old and new, you'll find them all, with action figures, board games, toys, and models to add to your new Comic Wednesday haul. The comic book store, 'cause that's where the books live, but it's also much more. It's the heart of the art form that we all adore. Your friendly neighborhood comic book store.
Ah, yes, now we're back after a long break. We are back in the comic book store. This is Comic Stripped, and I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich, and I'm wearing my irreversible shirt because, as we all know, Evan Bevins, who walks with Jesus, some language. Hello, Evan. How are you?
I'm doing good, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. I hear you're a huge fan of the Monica Bellucci French rape classic, Irreversible.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
I
read a review in Entertainment Weekly, and that pretty much told me that one wouldn't be on my list.
Robert Winfrey keeps saying to me, he keeps bringing up the fact that I'm twisting his arm, making him give me a birthday present, and that birthday present is reviewing The Idol with me. But we did think, wouldn't it be funny if instead of him, I had a panel discussion with Evan Bevins, who walks with Jesus, good to his mother, some language, Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy podcast, and Chris Bailey, eternal Alpha Flight fan.
There's a Canadian Eternal.
There is a Canadian Eternal. Tell me about that.
Oh shoot, you called me on it. No, I can't remember. I can't remember his name. He's like telepathic and bald. He looks like the Vision if he was human.
You're thinking of Professor X.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Evan Bevins, we were killing giants the last time we talked, and now we're going to go Cowboys and Aliens. What do you think about that?
Hey, it's a great title, and it lends itself to all sorts of possibilities.
None of them achieved in the book or the movie, for that matter. But yes, that is a great concept. That
wait, there was a movie?
That one.
Well, see, I read the comic, but then I just watched 310 to Yuma and Arrival.
I don't like the fact that
Cowboys and Aliens.
That you and Zach have decided that what the Radulich and Broadcasting Network was missing was props. This is still an audio medium in some sectors of the universe. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Holds up 310 to Yuma DVD. Holds up Arrival Blu-ray.
Terrific. Please now bang them together against pots and pans.
Ladies
and gentlemen, we are in fact talking and comparing and contrasting Cowboys and Aliens, the graphic novel, with the movie. The Cowboys and Aliens graphic novel is a 105-page book created by Scott Mitchell Rosenberg and written by Fred Van Lente and Andrew Foley, with art by Dennis Calero and Luciano Lima, speaking of 310 to Yuma. And it was released by American publisher Platinum Studios in 2006. So tell me about Scott Mitchell Rosenberg Evan Bevins.
Scott Mitchell Rosenberg, who, when I first looked at the credits before I read the bios, I thought it was Matthew Rosenberg. He wrote Hawkeye Freefall. You read that recently, right?
I did.
Yeah.
It'll be coming up in an upcoming episode of Source Material.
There you go. But no, it turns out Scott Rosenberg has been involved in a lot of comic stuff I knew about. I just didn't know his name.
Mm-hmm.
He was the founder of Malibu Comics.
Oh, really?
Which, yeah, for cross-promotional purposes, I think Jesse, Chris Armstrong, and I have a Unspoken Issues episode or two coming up marking the 30th anniversary of the Ultraverse, which was a line within the line of Malibu Comics.
You know, I once upon a time considered doing a comic strip for Men in Black. First, you can't find the comics or a trade anywhere of those things.
Right.
Malibu Comics. Like when I was trying to put this together, I ultimately gave up because there was no way to find the comics.
Yeah, I know that Men in Black was a comic.
Right.
That's about it. But yeah, he I guess Rosenberg was really on the train early of like, you know, simultaneously developing comics, movies, TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Nightman from Ultraverse made it onto Fox. One of the few comic book shows of that era that I didn't watch. I'm not sure what that says. I mean, guy played the saxophone and could sense people's evil thoughts. What more do you want? Let's see. Men in Black was kind of the big claim to fame. And then he also, I forgot, Malibu played a role. I think they were I read this right before we went on and then promptly forgot it. But Malibu, I think, was like the distributor for Image Comics in the early days. And I guess Rosenberg's bio, it says he's the guy that got Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, and all those guys, you know, brokered the deal for them to start their own label and break away from Marvel and DC. Of course,
right. And that was called Pockets Comics, right? Lots of Pockets Comics. The 90s art joke.
Oh yeah,
Everyone wears
pouches. Yeah, I mean, Pockets is not inaccurate, but Pouches is the dog whistle.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah,
lots of Pouches Comics, got it.
Yeah. But eventually, Marvel bought Malibu. Image is now, you know, like the third biggest comic distributor out there, and Jim Lee runs DC Comics.
How big is Aftershock? Because I read all their stuff, as you know.
Yeah, I don't know how big Aftershock is. I know a guy who writes for them. They have some cool stuff.
They do. Every time I go to the bookstore, I'll look at the Marvel stuff, look at the DC stuff, and then promptly buy an Aftershock book every single time.
You know, there's a sequel to Kaiju Score.
Oh, is it? Has it actually been written and published?
Yeah. It's called Steal from the Gods. I don't know if it's been collected in a trade yet, but yeah, it brings back one of the characters from the original with a new crew and a new score and a new kaiju.
Well, you'll have to tell Jesse, and we'll have to get it on an episode of Source Material.
There you go. But yeah, so yeah, Rosenberg, I guess, is, you know, like I said, was kind of ahead of the curve. You know, was trying to get comics into TV and movies and succeeding before you know, literally everything came from a comic and a movie, and everybody but Martin Scorsese was rushing to film anything that had ever been in a comic book.
Okay.
Look, I think The Irishman would have made a heck of a comic.
I agree with you. A vascular pornographic comic. Now listen, Cowboys and Aliens. How did we get to his Cowboys and Aliens book? What do we know?
Well, I was just reading. He came up with this idea when he was a kid, I guess. And you know, it looks like he's like, hey, this is a cool idea, and he got some, you know, talented comic book veteran people to put it together. And
I was under the impression that this was kind of like almost like the comic was almost like a storyboard outline that he could sell to people. But the idea, essentially, the comic book was his spec for what he always intended to be a movie. And it's funny
because what it feels like.
When I remember Welcome to like WrestleTopia, I think it was what it was called. That's exactly what the author was saying. He was like, I developed this as a movie, and when I couldn't get the movie sold, I made it into a comic book in the hopes that someone would want to adapt the comic into a movie.
Well, that's also what happened with I don't remember the people involved, but was it Oblivion, the Tom Cruise movie? That was originally a movie. The guy couldn't get it made. He made it into a comic, and then it full circled back to a movie.
Of course. That's always the way it goes. All right, so let's talk about Cowboys and Aliens here. It's a very simple plot, which when we get to the movie, it's almost shocking how simple the comic is, because the movie is way convoluted and like just weird. We'll talk about it.
Well, I mean, I not to get too far ahead, but I almost feel like Rosenberg went to the people who made the comic and the people who made the movie and said, Cowboys and Aliens, go. Because that's all they have in common.
Yeah, really. Like the movie is the book in name only.
Yeah. There's cowboys and there are aliens.
So the premise of the book, I'm not going to do like a damn you Hollywood recitation of every plot point, but the basic premise is that an alien horde has crashed on Earth in the middle of
with a D.
Huh?
Horde with a D.
That's what I said.
No, I know. I'm just clearing it up for people.
A group of whores from Las Vegas. Evan, you're supposed to be the good one here.
I know, and I've led you astray. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
a horde of virtuous aliens.
Thank you. I'm gonna make you watch The Idol with me. Be good, Evan. Yes, a horde of aliens crash on Earth, and they need to get to a high altitude to put a beacon to summon the mothership so they can get picked up again. And they run afoul of both cowboys and Indians in the process. The cowboys manage to get one of the alien guns, and they fend off the alien invaders. And that's about it. I mean, is there anything major in this that I missed?
They come to a mutual understanding with the Indians and understand a little bit about how they feel about the white man coming into their territory.
Yeah.
And Rube Goldberg saves the day at the end.
Yep. So, all right, what'd you think of the book?
It was fun. It was slight. I mean, there's not there's not a whole lot there. I mean, it's pretty much exactly what it says it is. I mean, you've got a couple memorable characters, I guess, or recognizable characters. I mean, you've got Zeke and Verity, who were the folks hired to get the good church going folk to Silver City. I mean, I guess you got a lot of what I would think of as Western archetypes, although I'm not an expert on Westerns. But you got the rogues with hearts of gold, Zeke and Verity, and you got the minister looking after his flock, and the rich guy who's trying to swindle the honest folks in Silver City because it ain't all it's cracked up to be. And then you've got the Indians who are viewed by the settlers as savages, but are actually noble warriors, and a couple of them are distinguishable from each other. I mean, that's as are the settlers. That's not a racial thing. It's just,
yeah.
There they are. You got Warhawk, and then the aliens are kind of generic too. I can't tell you the villain's name. And then there's a lady alien.
Yeah, she's like a part like android, and she's trying to help the humans. But I feel like at the end there was like a twist, like M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong ending, where she was helping the humans get rid of these aliens, but only because these aliens were competitive with the people she was really helping.
Well, I think they were rebelling against the bad aliens, and so then she shapeshifted from scaly alien who Zeke found attractive to a more nondescript gray alien, without hair, and then said, "Hey, we found some warriors who can help us," and so all the aliens came to Earth, setting up a sequel that never happened, to my knowledge. I mean, I guess, hey, whatever Zeke finds attractive, that's his business. She's no Olivia Wilde.
I'm not here to keep shame.
I don't think either incarnation would have found me particularly attractive. So who am I to judge? But, Yeah, I mean it's got some good ideas. I mean, like I said, the title alone has all these possibilities, and so it's got some neat action and some neat stuff, but it's pretty slight. There's a love triangle or love rectangle that seems to come at odd times. Like the time is running out, but are you going to kiss that Indian?
There seems like there's a bit of a like Independence Day thing going on where you've got the aliens with superior technology, and then you've got these cowboys and some Indians who are who are of the archaic 18th century Earth technology, and so
they're plucky.
They're plucky, and it should be a walk in the park for these aliens to conquer them. But never doubt the film's message seems to be never doubt the indomitable spirit of human ingenuity. And so the humans are able to like outwit the aliens, and because they have vim and vigor, and they've got those. I like
and
those
that one alien tool that they mistake for a gun.
Right. That they are able to fight back against the aliens, even though it's like insurmountable odds and futuristic technology. That element of it is handled okay. But you use the word slight, which is a word that comes up a lot on Damn You Hollywood. And yeah, there was some potential to deal with maybe some heady themes in a book called Cowboys and Aliens, or not do themes, but maybe do some outrageous action and really interesting stuff. And instead I didn't not enjoy the experience of reading it. It just felt kind of pulpy and not particularly. It felt shallow.
Yeah,
it felt very shallow and lacking in depth. Obviously, those are the same things, but it was almost as if like I have a concept. I'm going to do Cowboys and Aliens. Okay, we're going to do with it Cowboys and Aliens. But what are the Cowboys and Aliens doing? Cowboy and alien stuff. That's how much thought was put into this book. And so I kind of described, we were talking the other day about Fast and the Furious. I kind of described it as candy. This is like this is like a mint, like an after dinner mint. Like, oh, it tastes good. It's refreshing. It gets the taste of like, pork chops and broccoli out of your mouth, but it's not going to last with you much longer than that.
Yeah. The ideas are great. And like, you mentioned you could go with like really crazy over the top action, and there's really, I mean, there's some neat sequences and stuff, but it just there's nothing that really elevates it or makes it memorable other than the concept. Like the concept gives you a head start. Like I mean, I'm a sucker for stuff like, I mean, monsters versus aliens, cowboys and aliens, pirates versus ninjas. I'm like, okay, that's cool, mixing two things together. But
cocaine bears versus meth gators, Lake Placid versus Anaconda.
There you go. Yeah,
Freddy versus Jason.
I never cared about Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, but when they fought, I was like,
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I love a good crossover, but there's, in addition to that, you've got to have something special that hooks you in about the story itself. And there's, I mean, I can't say anything like, this is terrible, but there's nothing memorable that jumps out. I mean, Zeke is, most cowboys you've seen in a movie who have a past but end up, doing the right thing.
What did you think of the art? I'm looking at the book now, and the art's good.
Yeah,
the art is efficient. The art is serviceable.
It tells the story.
I was talking to Jesse about Silver Surfer Black on an upcoming episode of Source Material, and I said the thing about Silver Surfer Black that I liked about the art was that it matched the tone of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some art that I think adds to the story. There's a style, there's an aesthetic, and it good, and it works in conjunction. It really makes for a pleasurable, fulfilling read. And then there's Sam Keith.
Sam Keith's art works for Sam Keith stories.
You can be a Sam Keith groveling apologist all you want, but I speak the truth.
I'm not a groveling apologist. I'm just saying his art's weird and sometimes hard to follow, and so are his stories.
Okay, so Sam Keith's artwork is taking cans of paint and throwing it at the pages and going, it's Wolverine.
And then he puts eyes in it and claws, and you can see it.
Okay. Do you does this guy, you owe this guy money? What's wrong with you?
Oh, the Max was like the first non-Marvel or DC comic I collected.
Oh, I hit a button with you.
It only lasted 14 issues, and I keep meaning to go back and read it because I remember it being like really, really weird, possibly in some hard to defend ways. But it was just, Sam Keith's art works for the Max. I don't know where else I'd want to see it. There was a Wolverine and Hulk limited series.
Well, I saw it in a Lobo comic written by Scott Ian, and it hurt me. Okay. I opened that book, and a fist came out and punched me in the face, and I'll never forgive it.
You should track down Scratch, his DC Batman story his DC story about a werewolf where Batman shows up occasionally.
Anyway, my point being, there's really bad art. There's amazing photorealistic art like in Kingdom Come, and there's art that adds to the story, and then there's just comic book art. It's not good, it's not bad, it's efficient. It is exactly what it's supposed to be. Things look like the things they're supposed to look like. That is another element of this book. This book is a great example of a nondescript comic. It's a pulpy idea with a shallow story and efficient art. It is at once the most interesting thing and the least interesting thing I've ever read. And it is amazing to me because it's a cowboy. Even when we suggested doing this, sure, it was an easy one to do. There was a trade page, there was a graphic novel, there was a movie. They were both widely available. You and I are looking for stuff to do. This is what we're doing. But again, this almost falls into the category of why I quit reviewing television shows outside of, stuff that I specifically want to talk about, because, and I've talked about this with Alexis, some stuff just does not lend itself for long form conversation. Some stuff is just meant to be consumed, enjoyed, and promptly forgotten about, which could also be the name of this book. Consume, enjoy, and forget. Well,
I'll give you an example of the opposite, and I don't have to hold up the props. But if I were going to hold up the Blu-ray of Arrival again, when Arrival came out, I was like, oh, another Alien First Contact movie. Whatever. Seen it plenty of times. No interest. But you know what does interest me, Mark? Amy Adams interests me.
Is that your Selma Hayek? Is that your Monica Bellucci?
I love Amy Adams. I think she elevates just about everything she's in.
You can talk to me, Evans. It's just us.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know viewership was that low.
Well,
but my point is, I watched Arrival just because I enjoy Amy Adams' performances. Okay, and so that's the only reason I watched it. It's not a First Contact movie. It's not just a First Contact movie. There is so much more to that movie. There's a story. There's something that grabbed me. And calling it a First Contact movie is just scratching the surface. Whereas when I say Cowboys and Aliens, I've summed it up for you.
Yeah, I think we can move on to the movie. What do you think?
I think we can.
Okay.
I don't have the DVD box handy.
Thank fucking God. Cowboys and Aliens, don't you understand, is a 2011 American science fiction Western action film. That's a lot of subject matter. Directed by Iron Man director Jon Favreau, and starring Daniel Craig, Harrison Ford, Olivia Wilde, Sam Rockwell, Adam Beach, Paul Dano, and Noah Ringer. And it's based on the graphic novel of the same name. The plot revolves around an amnesiac outlaw, a wealthy cattleman, and a mysterious traveler who must ally to save a group of townspeople abducted by aliens. The screenplay was written by Roberto Orci, Alex Kurtzman, well, that explains a lot, Damon Lindelof, Mark Fergus, and Hawk Ostby, Grazer, Ron Howard, Kurtzman, Orci, Rosenberg, with Steven Spielberg and Favreau serving as executive producers. This thing was made on a budget of 163 million. It made 174 million. It was not profitable. Before we start talking about it, let's see. Mixed reviews from critics. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 44 based on 257 reviews. Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford are as dependable as appealing as ever, but they're let down by director Jon Favreau's inability to smooth Cowboys and Aliens' jarring tonal shifts. Metacritic was 50 out of 100 based on 41 critics indicating mixed or average reviews. And audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B on an A+ to F scale. All right, so I'm gonna go first here, and then I'll ask you what you thought of the movie. I saw this back when it came out, and then never watched it again until Tuesday in preparation for this review. And I remember thinking at the time, and I was confirmed watching it, because sometimes you watch stuff and then your opinion changes it over time. That could be good or bad or indifferent. I still have the very same opinion I had back then, which was for a movie called Cowboys and Aliens, which should be silly good fun, this was way too fucking serious. This thing is almost like morose in tone. I mean, I know Daniel Craig's going to go on to become like the most brutal, depressing James Bond ever. But like first of all, Daniel Craig was not the right lead for this. Daniel Craig's lead cowboy in Cowboys and Aliens is a badass. Don't get me wrong, but he is, again, way too serious for what should have been a fun, exciting, general audience, family-friendly movie. And he is just brooding and violent, and the whole thing, like it starts off with, first of all, you find him out in the desert, and he gets accosted by some outlaws and proceeds to violently near murder all of them.
Not near. No, I'm pretty sure he killed them all.
Yeah, okay, violently murder every single one of them. And it's like, granted, I show my kids a lot of stuff, but if you took your family to go see Cowboys and Aliens and that's your opening scene, a lot of angry parents. You know what I mean, Evan?
Yeah. No, I've been there. The characters who interested me the most didn't even make the summary. Doc, the barman who apparently was a doctor but wanted to open a bar on the frontier.
Who wouldn't?
Sam Rockwell, and then the preacher, Clancy Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the guys that I found the most interesting. Yet, and maybe it's because I've now seen 3 movies in which Daniel Craig sports a Southern accent. But yeah, when he opened his mouth, I wasn't like, "Oh, that's weird. He doesn't sound British." I was like, "He doesn't sound Southern." And maybe he wasn't Southern, to be fair, but I don't know. I was expecting Benoit Blanc. And as far as watching this movie again, I'm not 100% sure I saw it before I watched it for this. I thought I had, but I couldn't remember much of it.
Mm-hmm.
And after having watched it, I still don't remember much of it.
Yeah, it is.
I remember it from watching it this time, but like as I watched it, it didn't come flooding back. It was like,
there's not a lot that stays with you in this movie. You follow Daniel Craig. The whole beginning is so there's a saying, and I say it a lot on Damn You Hollywood or like triple features about, Kevin Smith's line about we got to get the kids to the mall. Like if the title of your movie is Cowboys and Aliens, get to the fucking aliens already. We spend a good half an hour. Well, you.
No, I know you want. I get that they were going for a setup like, where I think they were going for let's ground this world in the realistic and familiar before we bring in the fantastic.
That everyone is familiar. Anyone over the age of 30 is familiar with old-timey Western town. In 10 minutes, they should have shown you who our leads were, introduced them, and the aliens then should have landed. This thing clocks in at roughly
about 2 hours even, right?
Yeah, just at 2 hours, like 118 minutes. This was a 90-minute feature that was way too long. We needed to open up the movie, introduce the characters. I mean, think about, like, again, I'm going to go with Independence Day as a model. Independence Day introduces you to Jeff Goldblum, his dad. That's a large cast, and they got to get to kind of everybody. But as soon as they do, they the alien, as that's happening, you're seeing the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
The aliens are coming. The ships are moving into place. And as the tension is building, as Jeff Goldblum is trying to figure out what that this code is actually a countdown clock, you're seeing the aliens ominously show up over the Empire State Building, the Capitol Building, et cetera, the Capitol Records Building. I think that's what it is. The White House, et cetera, et cetera. And then Jeff Goldblum goes, time's up. And the next thing you know, they're blowing up the United States. Now, I understand it took a lot longer than 10 minutes to get there, but that whole first 30 minutes, that whole first act, you're seeing the aliens. You're getting what you came for. And then finally, what everyone really did come for, what you see in the trailer, kaboom, babu, blah, blah, blah. This needed that same structure. You can cut between Paul Dano molesting the townsfolk, and you can cut in between Daniel Craig viciously beating everyone he meets,
and
brooding. But you have to cut to the aliens in the middle of all that.
Yeah,
like you have to keep cutting back and forth so that when they finally land and abduct the townspeople, that sets our movie in motion, our heroes on the quest to bring back the townspeople. You as the audience member going, oh, okay. Like, I'm with this movie now. Like, I want to see our intrepid band of misadventurers get the townsfolk back. If you didn't know you were watching Cowboys and Aliens, that first half an hour, you still wouldn't know. You would think the movie was about Daniel Craig and this town that has been beset by Harrison Ford and Paul Dano, and think that the movie is about. You essentially would think this movie was Three Amigos. only Daniel Craig is one amigo.
Now, I will say the characters in the movie at least started out, it had potential to be more interesting than the ones in the book. I mean, like I said, Doc, the preacher, even the idea of Harrison Ford as the bad guy. Although, is he a bad guy? Paul Dano, the spoiled child who thinks he's a gunslinger. I mean, there was potential there. I mean, I didn't mind the slow burn, but now that you described the way it should have been done, I agree that would have been better. But then I don't know. Olivia Wilde was just kind of. I know she was supposed to be mysterious, but she was just kind of confusing. I have in my notes, apparently in the voice of Daniel Craig, stop following me around, Olivia Wilde. Stop gazing longingly at me.
Well, she's supposed to be the robot character from the comics.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Which, again, we need to talk about that. The comic book, and we can do some comparing and contrasting now if you want, but the comic book is about how the evil ogre aliens need to set up shop on the planet to call home so they can get off the planet, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, the one in the comic, the one guy said, "Oh, it's not on a chart. Well, then I can take it over, and we just have to call the fleet because our ship's."
Mm-hmm.
And then, in this they were mining gold because there's gold in them Dar Hills.
Right, and that's what they needed the townspeople for, as a mining force, as slaves, if I remember correctly.
No, I think they were just studying them because they had that thing that like melted the gold and sucked it out.
Oh, okay.
In the sky.
It's entirely possible I missed that. I was having a conversation about utterly unrelated stuff at the time.
So you're saying the gold was like the nudity in Logan's Run? Just totally missed it.
Oh my God. Yeah. Why do you bully me?
All right, we don't have that many callbacks.
That's fair. Anyway, it's two completely different plots.
It's like Rosenberg gave two different groups the prompt Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah. Let's see what you come up with.
Yeah. I mean, I understand some adapting. Like Steven Spielberg looked at the book Jaws and goes, "Let's go with the shark and forget all the stuff about the police chief's wife cheating on him. Let's pull out the shark elements."
Right. Let's really focus on the man-eating shark and not talk about development and gentrification and all of that. I get it.
So, but yeah, this. I mean, the only things that I saw in common was there was a female alien who was sympathetic to the humans.
Right.
The humans used alien technology seemingly better than the aliens.
Well, that's definitely an Independence Day thing. Dude, my favorite line in Independence Day, and one that my dad noped out on. Like my dad watches a lot of movies just like I do, and he definitely has some thoughts just like I do. But with certain things, he'll just nope out on. He's like, I can't deal with this anymore. Will Smith going, I saw the way they piloted their alien craft. I believe I can fly it too, based on observation. And my father was like, I'm done. This is the dumb.
So he got through Windows being compatible with the alien technology.
It was an Apple. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. We all know that alien technologies all run on Apple computers.
I stand corrected, albeit well said.
Anyway, but yeah, he also thought sneaking a laptop onto the mothership and giving it a virus is also the dumb. But yeah, that is a thing in American science fiction fantasy, isn't it? That we can always outmaneuver the far superior aliens with their own technology.
Well, that's I don't know if I've plugged this on here for a while, but I wrote a web comic called Support Group. A support group for people with lame superpowers.
I may have heard you mention it once or twice.
Well, one of the characters was based entirely on this on that idea. She found an alien suit of armor and decided she would be a superhero, and then found out it doesn't work for humans. She just carts it around on a dolly and sets it up to look intimidating, but you can't use it because it doesn't fit her. It's not compatible with human physiology.
Anything else about this movie that we want to talk about? What was
the deal with the hummingbird?
I have no idea.
I have Indian plants plus semi-erotic massage plus hummingbird equals restored memory.
That's how that works, isn't it? You have to give an erotic massage with a hummingbird in order for people to get their memory back.
And then, also the aliens need to learn to kill Daniel Craig first and stop killing the women first.
I mean, the women make easier targets. If you had a choice between killing a woman and killing Daniel Craig, wouldn't you kill the woman first?
No, because especially not when Daniel Craig has one of my stolen ray guns on his wrist.
I suppose. I thought that was an interesting choice, by the way, was to have him, it's very tropey to have your lead wake up, in Memento style. I don't remember anything, and he has to work backwards and try to figure out why, and he's got this thing on his wrist. He's fucking cannon on his arm.
Russell Sammy Jenkins' cattle.
Sorry. It is, like I said, the tone of this doesn't really match the title. The title is way silly, and you want them to have fun with this movie, but it was Jon Favreau and the writers of this thing, which is no, this is a very serious. And that's the thing. I could almost handle. We understand it's a silly concept, but we have something we need to say about the nature of man and the world with this movie, so we have to take it seriously. I'll be damned if I could pick up a serious theme in this movie that they needed this tone to convey that message. I did not get a greater theme or understanding of what it was they were trying to do with it from what I got.
Yeah, and they even kind of, I was watching and I was like, oh, okay, so they're not going with the whole, aliens, humans, Native American settlers. They're not going with that. And then they're just oh no, here's a bunch of Indians. Oh look, Harrison Ford's kind of racist, but he's really not that bad. Grudging respect. And that was all if that's what they were going for, but it's almost somebody went, hey, we need to get the Indians in here.
Yeah.
I thought the characters and some of the setup was more substantial than the comic, but it didn't really go any farther.
No. All right. Sometimes we fill up the full hour, and sometimes we don't. And I don't know if I've got anything else left to say about Cowboys and Aliens, the comic or the book. I didn't mind talking about it. I didn't mind reading and watching. I find that, especially with the comic stuff, and a little less so when we talk about old movies, it's like this gives me an opportunity to watch or read something that I would have not watched or read otherwise.
Yeah.
It gives it a sense of urgency. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, Alexis and I had this whole conversation about his Dark Materials, where by the time we got to season 3, we're both not unhappy we watched it. It was a good series. It was a good finale, but neither one of us had a whole lot to say. And that is my struggle with some of the stuff that we do here. Not all of it. The vast majority of it, I have no problem with. I mean, the last 2 podcasts I did were both 2.5 hours. But with this one, when you don't have some deeper stuff to examine, or the craft issues don't really lend themselves to long form discussion and criticism, and it's just like the comic book was good but forgettable. The movie was dark and drab and forgettable. Like, beyond, like, how many more times do I need to say it? Like, how many times do I need to repeat that or say it in a different way? It just, I enjoyed the experience of watching and reading, and I certainly am glad I got to talk to my friend about it. And when I hit stop on the record button, I will not remember I did any of it.
You're not wrong. I mean, I put this movie in the category of, if it came on TV while I was like working around the house, I'd leave it on.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything that I found, really objectionable about it. There wasn't a whole lot I found very memorable about it. I mean, I can't, the only like action sequence I can think of is the one where Olivia Wilde gets scooped up by the body snatching rocket thing, and which apparently goes on Sunday drive mode, so Daniel Craig can catch it on his horse, and he jumps on it. And the most amazing thing about that is his hat stays on the whole time. I haven't seen millinery like that since Smokey and the Bandit. Millinery refers to the art of making hats. Smokey and the Bandit, he had his hat on in a car with the top down, and it stayed on the whole time.
Jon Favreau has made some really wonderful pictures, very entertaining pictures. He made Elf, he made Iron Man 2, all before Cowboys and Aliens. I'm not entirely sure what went wrong here. I mean, he's a guy that definitely enjoys making movies, and he makes really fun ones. Like, Chef is one of my favorite movies. Like, I think he did a good job with The Jungle Book. And while I did not love The Lion King, it made tons of money. People enjoyed it.
Well, you could say maybe his thing is just not combining science fiction and Westerns, but then The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I mean, in the comic, Fred Van Lente, I've read stuff of his that I've really enjoyed, and that was more memorable. It just you had Cowboys, you had Aliens, you had a comic, you had a movie.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's about it. I got in my millinery joke, so
okay.
And I explained it, thereby assuring that people would find it hilarious.
Yes, now people will know that it is in fact very funny. All right, Evan Bevins of the Screaming Boy podcast. Then that wraps up our.
Right now, I'm going to get sued.
So, I in the great cutback of 2022, a lot of people's stuff. We're not doing this anymore, but it just kind of took me a while to figure out what my schedule was going to be, and then even then, I had to change it a bit. Some new people came into my life. Some old people left my life, but I kind of got a base of how I want to do things now. So I'm slowly reintegrating everyone back into the Radulich and Broadcasting Network after I cleaned house. It was like, only people are staying are Robert and Jesse. Everyone get the fuck out. What the fuck, man?
The one that we had on the books when you cut back was I Kill Giants, and we did that. So
yep.
Yeah.
So but I promised Evans that I am a polyamorous podcaster, and I have a rotation, and everyone gets into my rotation. Tonight was your time, Evan. I gave you your time.
Thank you.
Now I gotta give Jason his time and Pat his time and Alexis her time. Everyone gets their time. Everyone gets their day, Evan. Everyone gets their day. In the
It would help if I told you what days I'm available, but
it would, as I do this tortured polyamory joke. So now that you're in the rotation, we will get you back. We're talking about doing The Losers. We're talking about doing Two Guns, The Mask. I have the actual graphic novel for A History of Violence. That one was pitched to me by Chris Bailey, but Chris Bailey is also notoriously hard to schedule. So, that's in the back of my mind. On the list of things I want to do. I don't know if you were ever interested in The History of Violence. No,
I've seen the movie.
Have you? Okay.
I know it's a comic.
Yes, but it's a comic in almost like paperback novel form. It's like yay by yay. It's and black and white. You know what else is also a comic? It started out as a comic. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Did not realize that one. Wait, no,
yeah.
It came up in the chat, I think.
Yeah, because I bought the book because there was a point at which I was trying to get my wife to do that one. Try to get her into my rotation. She's in a different rotation. She rotates her own way.
There was Road to Perdition.
Yes, yeah, that one's on there too.
That's another that was always my go-to. Like, did you know that was a comic? But that was before everything was a comic.
True. So we have plenty of. There's an entire Wikipedia dedicated to adaptations of comics to movies. And boy, if we start even getting into like television shows to comic books, we have a whole year's worth of stuff we can do there.
Whole new world.
I think I wanted to do at one point. I think I had it on the schedule, and then whatever. It was like Punk Rock High School. I think it was a comic book, and then was a show on Sci-Fi Network.
Was that Punk Rock High School or Deadly Class?
Deadly Class, yes. Or I am an old man, and I wore onions on my belt because that was the style at the time. Yes, Deadly Class, which is something I'm interested in doing. It's a little unwieldy because it's a television show and it's a series of comic books and several trades.
I read the first trade, I think.
Okay. And I don't know how much of any one trade was incorporated into the show that only lasted one season.
I have not, like I said, there was a time when anything that was adapted from a comic, I was all over.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Return of the Swamp Thing many, many, many times. Probably more times than I've read Swamp Thing comics. But nowadays it's just that there's all kinds of stuff out there.
So yes, we're gonna get Evan a steady gig here at least once a month or so. Assuming he ever gives me his days. On the Radulich Broadcasting Network, and we're going to tackle these one at a time. I'm going to try to find some really weird ones for you. Some really uncomfortably weird ones.
Okay.
And it's like, I wish I hadn't come back.
No,
I don't do this with Jesse.
What I'm trying to think of is, can I find one that would throw you off?
Ooh, what a challenge that would be.
Well, there was Old, but
we did that one already.
Okay, but I'm just saying it exists. I'm just thinking. I lost the Wikipedia link.
Right, well, you and I will talk. Especially if I'm bored at work. Then if we're bored at work, I got all kinds of time to discuss this with you. All right. That being said, that ends this week here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. The top of the week, we relaunched a page for Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe from a podcast many years back. Jesse and I did Treme season 2. Andrew Graham says it's like the best thing we've ever done on the network, this David Simon series. So that's good. I'm glad people are enjoying if they are. Jesse and I's monthly look back at the great works of David Simon as we travel, as we go on hand in hand, arm in arm, through the periwinkles from the corner to the deuce. Speaking of the corner to the deuce, we reviewed Fast X on Tuesday night. This weekend, the good boys over at Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do, they reviewed A Good Person and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We're taking a break from Everyone Loves a Bad Guy Saturdays and instead throwing back to an old Screaming Boy podcast that never made W2M, The Rise and Fall of Bill Cosby. He has since been let out of prison, but at the time he was just going to prison, and we talked about how America's dad became America's not so great dad. And then Metal Hammer of Doom Sundays is Dragon Force Maximum Overload. Monday, Memorial Day, Jesse and I continue our look at heavy metal comics by looking at Slayer Repentless, which was also a Slayer album. Tuesday, I'm re-airing the Lee McGregor versus Cash Farouk alternative commentary. Cash Farouk was robbed, I tell you, robbed. And then we will be reviewing The Little Mermaid. And speaking of things that Bevins enjoys, John Waters movies. We are kicking off LGBTQ plus month, Pride Month, as we all know. Sean Comer, speaking of people that I kicked out of the rotation that I'm just now bringing back, we've got 3 LGBTQ plus Pride Month shows scheduled for the month of June. We're kicking things off with John Waters' The Trash Trilogy, which consists of Pink Flamingos, Female Trouble, and Desperate Living. And then on my birthday, there'll probably be another Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do. And then we're back to this weekend. Everyone Loves a Bad Guy, Transformers. And on Sunday, the Long Road to Ruin that I did with Sean Comer, back from one of my many misadventures. We're looking at the first 3 Transformers movies from many, many years ago. All right, that's all for me. Thanks. I'm driving. Evan Bevin, show us where you pissed from.
What now?
I said, show us where you pissed from.
That's what I thought. I'm just going to tell you about my blog.
Any way you want to do it, baby.
So asterisk51.blogspot.com, where I write about comics, movies, comics about movies, movies about comics, sometimes football. I, too, am not unfamiliar with the ways of synergy, and I will have a Free Comic Friday entry looking back at the 2018 Disney Princess free comic book day offering featuring Ariel, the Little Mermaid herself.
Well done. Very nice.
Lots of puns. I thought it was going to be a little bit fishy, but I turned out I really enjoyed it. And I'll be getting back to my read through of Stan Lee. Just imagine Stan Lee creating the DC universe. Mm-hmm. So be looking for that. And if you've ever wondered what happened in every single issue of Secret Defenders, I can tell you.
All right. Well, thank you, Evan, for coming back on tonight. We'll see you in about a month or so for Losers and then Two Guns, and then we'll see what happens after that. For the great Evan Bevins, I am a pain in the ass. Be well, be safe, and behave.